Hi guys, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Pieter-Louis.
Welcome back to Legends and Lore, a world tour, where every episode takes you deeper into the mysterious and the unexplained. And today, we're stepping into a case that has haunted the curious for over a century. A case that blends mystery, fear, and perhaps a little bit of historical cover-up. This is the story of the Vanishing Hotel Room, also known as the Vanishing Lady. And unlike our urban legends, this one has just enough historical detail to make you wonder, could it really have happened? Let's rewind to the glittering summer of 1889, when Paris was at the center of the world stage. The city was hosting the Exposition Universelle, a world fair that commemorated the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution. And standing tall as the centerpiece of this global celebration, the newly built Eiffel Tower. Paris pulsed with energy. Foreign dignitaries, travelers, and artists flooded into the city. Restaurants were overflowing, hotels were fully booked. It was the kind of setting that felt straight out of a fairy tale, or perhaps a ghostly story. According to the most common version of the tale, a British woman and her adult daughter were traveling across Europe and had arrived in Paris near the end of their journey. Unfortunately, the mother began feeling unwell, possibly due to exhaustion or something more serious. They sought a place to rest and ended up checking into an elegant Hotel Universelle, which was said to be near the exposition grounds. Their names weren't officially recorded, unsurprising, given the tale's murky regions. But most versions agree that they were assigned a room on the upper floor of the hotel. Some accounts say the mother and daughter shared a room, while others suggest they had adjoining suites, which was common for the welfare travels at that time. Later that evening, the mother's condition worsened. The daughter, understandably concerned, summoned the hotel doctor, who examined her. The doctor spoke with the hotel manager in French, possibly out of courtesy or secrecy, and then turned to the daughter with urgent instructions. Her mother needed medication right away. Now here's where the version begins to split a bit. In one telling, the doctor instructs the doctor to visit his home, where his wife would hand over the medication that they need. In another, she was told to go to this distant chemist, a specific pharmacy that supposedly stocked the only dose available. She would not be able to find anywhere else. Regardless of the version, what followed was hours of travel by carriage in a foreign city while under immense emotional strain. But she returned, medicine in hand, and went straight to the concierge to collect the room key. And that's when things took a terrifying turn. The concierge looked at her with confusion. He claimed that he had no idea who she was. The room number she gave him, already occupied by someone else entirely. The woman insisted, she begged, she asked for a doctor. He'd surely remember her.
How long was she gone?
In just a few hours. It wasn't days or anything. She was gone for a few hours.
But you said travel by carriage all across what? France or just Paris?
Basically just a few hours away. So she was asked to go fetch medicine, and it took her about, if you look at accounts, you're talking about 3 or 4 hours, something like that. So it wasn't a day. It was definitely not a day, but it was quite a few hours. And she was extremely stressed during this time because obviously she needs to get to her mother. She needs this medicine urgently. The one account talked about how she realized the carriage was like driving in different directions and taking funny turns. So she actually jumped out of the carriage and ran.
So is this a story about a time-traveling carriage, or is this just a story about a vanishing room?
A vanishing room.
Because it does tend to sound like maybe she climbed into a carriage that took her somewhere else, or some time else. How do you say it? Somewhere else, some time else, someplace else? Time travel?
It would be a different time,
Some time else.
Yes.
Someplace else, some time else.
But no, the carriage wasn't a traveling carriage.
Starting a trend.
Time traveling carriage. But anyway, when the doctor finally appeared, his face showed no recognition. In fact, he denied ever having seen her. panicked, she demanded to see the hotel manager, who also claimed she never checked in.
Yeah, but what happened to the medicine? Still in hand.
Yes, she still has the medicine. She's standing there. She wants to give it to her mother. And all of a sudden, the doctor she knows, she recognized, he says, "Oh, sorry, I don't know you. I've never met you in my life." The hotel manager who helped her into the carriage and arranged for her to travel where she had to go, he says, "Oh, sorry, I don't know where you are. I've never met you before." The clerk behind the desk who signed her in, gave her keys, her mother her keys, that he's saying, "Oh, sorry, I don't have a clue who you are." And she's just standing there like, "I don't understand. I was just here. You literally just sent me away for medicine."
What kind of medicine? Do they say?
They don't say specifically. I just said, "You can
Because-
only get this medicine." The one account said, "You can literally, my wife has to give it to you. It's only at my house. She'll get it nowhere else." And the other account said that only this one pharmacy could help him.
Because that's a bit of proof of evidence or something that says, look at this thing in my hand. You sent me to get this.
Yes, but I don't think they gave like a prescription. I think they said, "Go tell them I'm asking for it."
Yeah, but still, it'll be random if you.
Pitched up
Pitched
with
up
medicine at a random hotel.
Well, I'm just imagining. I don't know. 1889. I'm trying to think what it will be like. But like sending me away to go find some lilies or elderberries or something, and then coming back with a specific thing. Obviously, that would make kind of sense, wouldn't it?
Yes. But that's the problem. That's why she's so confused. So even the hotel registry, which she was eventually allowed to see after a lot of begging and talking and pleading, held no record of her mother's signature. It was as if the two women had never arrived. Desperate, the daughter insisted on seeing the room itself. When she got there, her blood ran cold. The furnishings were different. The walls were a different color. All of her mother's luggage, clothing, and personal effects gone. There was absolutely no trace they'd ever been there.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking, isn't she at the wrong hotel? Or the wrong city? Or this right hotel, wrong city?
So the hotel and everything, I can figure, okay, you're at the wrong place because the room is different. But she recognized the doctor, she recognized the manager, and she recognized the hotel clerk.
Would she really?
So why would the day look different? Would they be the same, but the hotel is different? Yes, you'd recognize somebody. I remember the concierge and everybody at the hotel.
But not everybody does.
I'm pretty sure if you're freaked out and people are helping you out, you're going to remember who helped you out.
Because I can't really remember the last concierge I've seen at a hotel. Yeah, sure, it's been a couple of months, but I can't remember what they would look like.
No, not now, but obviously if I'm there at that day and I booked in that day, I'd know. So anyway, she was completely alone and completely certain she was not crazy. So the question is, what happened? According to one version, a sympathetic doctor finally pulled her aside, but was not part of the hotel, and quietly offered an explanation, but told her she must never repeat it. He believed the mother had died, possibly of bubonic plague
Yay,
or
plague.
another highly contagious illness. To avoid panic, yes, I did have one for you for plague. To avoid panic and protect the reputation of the exposition and the city itself, authorities may have orchestrated a swift and thorough cover-up. The room was cleaned, the belongings destroyed, and every staff member sworn to secrecy. So the one thing is, I was like, okay, but the room was a different color. So I'm guessing they did like different paper stuck to it because paint won't dry that quickly. So that's the only thing that made me like, okay, but it's the one thing that's confusing me.
That kind of does make sense, but it points in a whole different direction. Like you said, the room would make sense. If you had 3 hours to redo a room, you won't be able to. The furnishings were different.
Yes, but you don't know what they have in
If you're going to
storage.
make up a story and going to tell someone that they've never been here, you're not going to change the furnishings. You're going to keep on saying you weren't
Remember,
here.
if you're scared your hotel is literally everybody's going to cancel and leave your hotel over the next few hours because there's a plague was said just to be in your hotel. The authorities are scared that they're going to cancel the whole entire tourist attraction that they spend so much money on for exhibiting the Eiffel Tower and everything, all those type of things. I'm pretty sure they can get new things there within an hour. Even I just borrow next doors. You don't know. It's a hotel next to a hotel. Like literally just. I'm sure there's previous furnishings and stuff and storage you don't know. I believe you can change that room in 3 hours.
Yes, you can, but why would you? If you're going to lie, just keep on lying.
They changed it so it would confuse her, so she would think she's crazy. There was some sort of version that said she ended up in like a facility because she lost her mind after that because she
Maybe
didn't
she
understand.
lost her mind before that moment.
No, I don't know. You won't end up there with medicine. I'm sorry, no. Randomly picking up medicine, no. I honestly believe she was there. So anyway, that was the one part. A shocking idea, but if it was true, wouldn't that explain the eerie, perfect erasure? This story has lived on through dozens of retellings. One early version appeared in 1912 travel book. A short story titled The Vanishing Lady was published in a pulp magazine, Strange Tales, in the 1920s. Then came Alfred Hitchcock's 1938 film, The Lady Vanishes, followed by the 1950 movie So Long at the Fair, which was loosely based on this very tale. But here's the twist. There are no official historical records to prove it ever happened. No names, no dates, no guest logs or police reports, and yet the story refuses to die. Why, you ask? Because the details remain chillingly consistent. The mother's sudden illness, the vanishing room, the complete gaslighting, the eerie institutional silence. And more strangely, similar stories have popped up across the world. In Berlin, 1920, a nearly identical story was reported. A woman vanished from a hotel room and no one remembered her being there. In New York, whispers of a 1940 case tell of a couple checking in only for the wife to disappear while the hotel staff insisted she had never existed.
It does feel like a movie I've seen before.
Yes, that was probably based on this.
Well, it feels like a recent movie. Anyway, it's just that. Is this like a ghostly thing that copies and pastes itself? Now it's in one country, now it's in Europe. Well, now it's in Paris, now it's in Berlin. Now it's in New York.
If you think about it, small towns.
Is this an urban legend that copies and pastes itself? Is it something that we should start looking out for? Next time I take you to the hotel, hopefully you disappear. Well, not hopefully, but maybe you disappear. Maybe I disappear.
Guys,
maybe
if I disappear shortly after this, please send this recording to the police.
We're going to go do some research now.
I'm sensing murder vibes here. But anyway, if you think of a lot of the murder stories where people just vanish, it's easy to just vanish.
It's easy to just vanish.
The problem is the cover-up. And I can 100% see a country covering something up. Because if you take this huge momentum in time where they were revealing something as important as the Eiffel Tower and had so many people coming in and streaming in and all this money that was coming into the country after they spent so much money. I can see them covering up a few deaths because the moment they say, sorry, there's a plague, that entire place would have to be shut down. You lose literally everything. Everybody will be going home, everybody will be freaking out, mass hysteria, everything you always go on about would have happened immediately. So I can see them covering it up and trying to hide it, even cremating a body, disposing of everything in that room because she touched it. So I can see them burning it as well.
But there's a plague theory and there's a illness theories, but why not get rid of the girl as well? Because then that's obviously
murder.
Who said they didn't kill the mother?
No, the story is she died of the illness. She died of the plague. So they got rid of the body.
Alleged plague, because plague was way before this.
No,
Plague 1860s?
The story goes about her and her mother traveling all over, like this one big great trip before I think went off to college or came back or whatever, but it was this one great trip for her and her mom. And then because it doesn't sound like they would have stayed over, because she started feeling sick and everything, they decided to stay over.
What else? I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I do believe people can just vanish. And let's say there is a cover-up. The extreme measure doesn't make sense to me. It wouldn't.
How does it not make sense to you?
Because
the amount of money Paris would have lost.
in the 1890s, Paris, if a woman, women didn't have many political rights for that matter. I think they couldn't vote yet, and I think you weren't allowed to sign contracts and stuff like that just as a woman. You could just basically say she's lying and people would believe you. Why go into the whole story of making stuff disappear if you can just use the easy way out? Understand?
Because
Why
if
make everything
she thinks
disappear?
she's insane and her story doesn't match the hotel's story, they know won't believe her. Otherwise, people will believe her.
And then the other part of it is, this is the World's Fair of Paris. What was the name again? The
Universal, I think.
Universally, whatever. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening there as well. And with crazy stuff and crazy inventions, there's crazy people following it. Maybe she was just crazy. Maybe she was attention seeking. Because remember, at the moment, this is 1889, 1898?
No, I don't know.
1889, yeah.
Go back to.
I'm going to go to the top of the thing. 1889. So this was, you would probably at this World Fair, you will see Edison's phonograph, which is like next level. This is where we're going. This will be where they revealed the telephone. So that's massive things in the media going on. People talking about the phonograph, people talking about the telephone, being able to talk to people over distances. This is where they found out about this.
Exactly. All that would never have happened if the plague came out.
But not
it
just
would have
that,
went immediately to mass hysteria
But now
and
you're
everybody going home to try and not die.
But now you're an attention-seeking little girl or young woman, and all of these amazing things are happening, and you want attention to yourself. What do? You create this imaginary scenario, and people believe you.
No, I don't
This
see
is
it.
this is a perfect story to make up if you want attention.
No, then you can just say your mom vanished or something, pitching up at a hotel and talking to everyone and saying, I know you and I want to see my... No. I honestly... It's just too far-fetched to say it's like that. I honestly can see, because of the situation Paris was in, where the authorities and the hotel would have worked together to make her think she's insane.
The other thing is also remember now there's a lot of people in Paris all of a sudden.
And the other thing about it is the fact that there's no missing record or anything. Why would the authorities not make a record to say, okay, but her mom says her mom is missing from this hotel? That's what she says. Why is there no record of her name saying my mom vanished and I swear she was in this hotel? There should be a missing record.
Because nobody believed her because she's the crazy.
Even if you don't believe somebody, you still have to do your work.
Well, not back then.
No, they still had to make a record of it.
Yeah, but back then there wasn't always also many police officers and stuff. This was...
No, I don't agree with
There
that.
wasn't like a big police force.
You don't know.
I've been there. 1889.
Yeah,
Paris.
I'm sure.
I've been there.
Stop lying.
But anyway, I'm just saying it wasn't like a massive police force out there. Was probably like 4 police officers or people with authority.
No, I'm sure the security and
stuff.
everything would have been big and well. No, it's just not. There's no way. I honestly, this isn't. I don't think this was alien abduction. I don't think this was time traveling.
I would like to go into the whole ghost room thing. I would like to see that as an urban legend thing of not a room not existing. That's amazing. It's just the human part of this doesn't make sense to me. I would love to say let's go into the
basically
some
the
kind of
thing is
apparition.
what caught my eye was a vanishing room. So I originally thought it was literally like the room physically vanished and there was just a hole there. So I originally thought something like alien abduction or black hole or whatever popped up here. And then when I went through it, it's definitely cover up. Definitely cover up.
But why? Just for the plague?
Because you would not want to close down the biggest event. Let's say how long. It normally takes 5 years, if not longer, to plan this type of events. It's not something you do overnight. It's different countries you bring in. It's everybody from all over the world coming in. That is literally, you can break a country by taking away all that money all of a sudden. Because they spend a lot of money to get a lot of money. You can physically break the economy if all of a sudden everything is shut down. I can see a cover-up. They've covered up stuff for less.
Okay, then there's also, let's say you are correct. Let's say so many people and money is important to them. What if she...
Money runs the world. That's just
money does run the world,
what
but
it is.
we're thinking of Paris now. This is exactly 137 years ago. Maybe they were just so busy that they wanted to give the room away. They basically went, oh, well, there she died. Let's just give the room away to get more money. If we tell the other people the lady died, we don't get money out of the new room.
But the room changed. That's cover-up.
But maybe they just moved the bed. Maybe it's not the whole furnishing.
No,
Maybe it was just like
the entire, it specifies all her stuff was gone. Her bags, her mom's bags, everything they owned was gone. And everything in the room looked different. So anyway. Are these just modern spins on an old urban legend? Or do they suggest something deeper, a recurring tactic used to protect reputations, institutions, and public calm? I know this sounds like textbook examples of myths, but let me ask you this. Why do these scenarios echo each other so closely across decades of continents? Could it be that it did happen? And just once, but the story was so compelling, so frightening, that it's been whispered from one city to the next?
But did anyone at any point, what happened to her? What happened after the story?
Like I say, there's versions that said she went insane.
Yeah.
And then that's the problem. It's more whispers between people because they didn't want to write down the story.
So there's like a massive chance of this just being an urban legend and it never...
No, I cannot see somebody
maybe
making up that
just
story.
Someone's story to make up.
No, I cannot see anybody making this up.
I think that maybe just because, like I said, I would like, are there any facts I can take? And maybe she went back to where she came from and which nobody knows. Nobody knows where she came from. Nobody knows where she went. Maybe this was just one of those stories that
No,
eventually
remember, she
found its
still
way.
had a family where she ended up at the end. It's just her mom was missing.
Okay, but where's the family's account of this?
That's the thing. They kept it quiet. So I'm guessing the media didn't want to pick it up.
But if you knew about the story, then someone would have said, hey, listen, my mom or grandmother's
Look
gone.
at how many people disappeared in life and nobody really said anything. It never went on TV or there wasn't even an alert sent out because, oh well, it's just another missing person. So you can't really, it's possible for somebody to vanish and it not hitting any newsstands or making big news. Obviously, if they tried to dampen this, like you say, there was a telephone apparently at that stage. The Eiffel Tower was a huge thing. So that would have hit all the headlines. Anybody going missing in that time, nobody would have noticed. No reporter, no news outlet, nobody would want to say anything because they would be totally on this huge event happening. If you're not anybody important, they're not going to report about it.
I can't think of any reason to do this. Like I said,
I've given you many reasons.
I'm not going with the plague thing. It's too late for plague. Well, there was already antibiotics. The plague didn't exist anymore.
They say it's possibly a plague. They didn't say it is a
A
plague.
type of
It could
plague,
have
yeah,
been anything that truly
one
made us
person.
sick.
One person.
You don't know if just one
That's not the start of a
person,
plague.
but you don't know if something else happened. Like I say, maybe she just got ill and and she didn't realize and she ended up dying of it and they covered it up still. Because they didn't want a report of a death during this time.
I'm going to go into a bit of a Googles here. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to ask Google, where did the girl go? Well, I'm not going to find anything, am I?
Like I say, they're all versions, but There's nothing concrete.
The thing is, it's so specific. Like it was in Paris, it was this hotel, and it was.
They
Did
have.
they say which hotel it was?
Yes, the hotel.
I think you said something. So we know it was a specific hotel. We know it was a specific time in a specific country. Why can't there be more info? Why
Hotel Universal. And there was 2 names for her, but they weren't, because they had one name they normally told her, and another name I didn't add the names. Because obviously they weren't sure about her name.
I think we should go to Paris. Go look at the room.
I 100% agree. Anybody want to sponsor us? Just let us know. See, you find
I
anything?
can see even Detroit. Okay. I think I'll watch a movie about a story like this.
Yes, I think it's very interesting and very creepy and just chilling. I mean, if I went to the hotel with you, I had to go all of a sudden and buy medication.
Yes, but you'll get lost.
That's the problem. But remember, she was also unfamiliar there, and everything was pretty much, I can promise you, roads were closed and everything. So she had to trust this carriage the hotel manager put her in to take her to the right place and bring her back. And they're talking about her traveling and it feeling forever, and she swears that he's going around the same block twice and he's taking weird turns. And like I said, at one stage I say she realizes he's going away from the hotel, and she jumps out and runs until she finds the place where she has to go back to the hotel. And I mean, if I had to jump out, there's no way I would have gotten. Without a cell phone, I would have had issues. At least with a cell phone, I can try and Google Translate to the French people. I'm trying to find my hotel. Then I would realize I don't remember my hotel's name, and the driver was creepy. So yes, I would probably end up somewhere in a gutter or something. It would not end well.
Well, the one sad part about this is, let's say that my one theory is correct, that maybe she just ended up at the wrong hotel, that somewhere her mother lay dying, waiting for her, because she went to the wrong hotel. Because I do see that happening. I can imagine you pitching up the wrong hotel.
You will recognize one of three faces. I can see you forgetting one. You will not forget three faces.
Yeah, but let's say that's just 4 hours later. Okay, now it's night shift working. Now I don't know who this is, but I think it's the right guy. I'm talking to the guy. This guy's friendly with me.
They tell you, sorry, that guy left, we have a new doctor. They won't tell you, oh, it was the morning. They won't leave out, oh, this is the night staff, it was the morning staff you spoke with.
I'd still, let's just say that's one of my theories. That's just a sad theory. Just thinking, now my mum's dying
And
somewhere.
honestly, back then, wasn't it like you had one doctor and that doctor came out late? They didn't have so many doctors that you had night staff, day staff. It was one doctor and he had to be on call.
Remember, Paris already a couple of million strong, so there would have been more than one, let's call it doctor. If you want to say a house doctor, whatever would come out to you. There would have been more than one, I believe. But this is just a sad theory. I'll call it a sad theory. It's just mom was dying somewhere else because she couldn't remember which hotel and got in the wrong carriage or whatever happened. My other theory is obviously is that maybe she's just a bit crazy. Maybe she wanted attention. That's the other theory I've got. I don't know what else to think about this.
There's
I would like to
many
say that this
things
is
you
a
can
cover-up,
think up.
but nothing makes me think cover-up. Nothing shouts cover-up in my... It wouldn't make sense.
You cannot decide, okay, the plague is definitely dead, there's no way. It's still possible. They were traveling far and wide. They were traveling and looking at all awesome.
What if the mom never existed?
Once again, I can see her making up a bunch of stuff, but appearing at a hotel with medicine in your hand does not make sense. It makes more sense that she went to see the Eiffel Tower and then came back and said no, but they stole her room, her mom disappeared. Going somewhere random and asking for medication, then nobody remembers. That just does not make sense to me. This
And
was
then
100%
obviously
cover
she
up.
doesn't have any luggage anymore.
No, they destroyed everything. She has nothing. Her luggage is destroyed, her mom's luggage. The whole room looks different, and her mom's just gone. No, it's very creepy and horrible. No,
I'm going to stick with crazy, and I'm not going to go cover up.
I'm gonna go cover up. It makes
And then there's
100%
nothing
cover
ghostly
up.
about this. I don't feel ghostly vibes about it. I would have liked to
No.
see ghostly vibes about it. Let's say
No,
this
it's
is
not
a room that,
ghostly.
if there was a room that doesn't exist,
Yes, like I say, originally I thought that like an entire room disappeared.
because
Like there was this hole.
there's urban legends about that as well, about like people checking into a room that doesn't exist, or a 13th room or something that was never there. But anyway, crazy lady.
Nope. Cover up.
There was no mom. There was no.
A story never changed. The story stayed consistent. So on one last more chilling thought. What if this kind of disappearance isn't a one-time event after all?
If you enjoyed diving down this rabbit hole into the world of the weird with us, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share your own thoughts. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content. And please share our podcast with fellow folklore lovers to help us grow.
Until next time, stay curious and keep the legend alive. Bye.
Bye.